Hello, my name is Tyler Joseph Chartier, and for the next couple of minutes, you're going to learn about how I view myself and ultimately why I came to that conclusion. Before I go ahead and get started, I'd like to introduce my in-person audience here. So we have Matt, my roommate.
Hello.
We have my mother on the telephone, Fran. She's watching. There she is. And we have my wonderful girlfriend, Maria. So again, this is my self-concept speech for Unit 2. Let me go ahead and set that up. Great. Welcome to my speech. All right. So have you ever sat and pondered the meaning of the universe? Yeah, me neither, right? But if I had, I'd probably also consider asking myself the question, how do I see myself, and ultimately, why did I come to that conclusion? So during the remainder of this speech, what I'm going to talk to you about is 3 major key points on ultimately why I've come to this conclusion and what it means for me. So again, I hope that you all have listening ears as I kind of cover these main points. So the first key point now that I think helps me to make me is appearance. Now, have you ever heard the expression, look good, feel good, right? It's almost a synergetic effect. When we can look good, we can also perform good and ultimately feel good. So for the audience that's watching this, I want you guys to take into account how you look and ultimately how it makes you feel. So that is one of my major key points on how I've came to discover myself. Now, this doesn't only mean physically. This also means from the inside out, right? This means having maybe a clear, good, moral, and ethical navigation within yourself to also pair with your physical looks. So the first key point, again, that I think helps to make me is my appearance. Now, going right into the second key point. The second key point of this speech on why I think that I am who I am and ultimately how I've arrived at this is by being able to look at myself and within my relationships, right? So, each relationship is much, much different. The relationship in which we have with maybe a significant other is far different than the relationship that we have with a best friend or a parent. But ultimately, how we interact within those relationships and ultimately how we conduct ourselves is how we can get a good idea of how we see ourselves. Now, me personally answering this question, I think that I'm a great partner within my relationship, and I also think that I tenure and ultimately help my friends and my loved ones. So I want you, everyone that's watching this, to also ask yourself that exact question. How do you handle yourself and conduct yourself within relationships, and ultimately, are you being the best version of yourself for those relationships? Now, the last key point that I want to talk to you about is something that kind of, stems within all things, to include relationships, to include our appearance, to include how we maybe work with our coworkers or ultimately deal with our colleagues. And that major key point is trust. Now, without trust, nothing is really possible, right? You have to have 2 people that trust each other to have the foundation of a relationship. Now, the reason why I picked trust to discuss as my last key point is simply for the fact that I think it's so important, right? So again, without that trust within a relationship, it's just like meeting a stranger. Although we ask certain things of strangers, such as, stay in your lane as you're driving, use your blinker as you're turning, or things of that nature, we wouldn't trust them very much further than that. But your deeply rooted relationships with friendships that you've had for years and years, or with parents, or with, coworkers that you've worked with, you're going to have more trust. Now, that's why I think that's a major key point that's worth examining within all of us. So I know that we kind of covered a lot in those short couple of minutes, but in summary, we touched on everything from the physical appearance to the importance of relationships, all the way to the importance of trust and how that kind of barriers over and kind of covers everything else that we kind of talked about. So now that you're adequately equipped and you're now prepared to examine yourselves, it is my hope that with this newfound information, you invest it into improving yourself, improving your relationships, and asking yourself, how do I see myself and how did I come to that conclusion? That is my speech. Thank you so much for paying attention.